every single person in this country is worth about $390,000. The huge pile of money behind that number is the largest of its kind in the world, $2.2 trillion. That's bigger than the money any country in Africa makes in a whole year. That's bigger than the wealth of almost every country on earth. And yet, because of their own rules, the people who own this huge fortune are not allowed to touch most of it. No government in this country can spend more than 3% of the fund in a single year. A country that bumped into the biggest pot of money on the planet, and then everyone agreed to lock the lid shut tight. Why would a country do this to itself? Why would a group of people choose on purpose to hold back from using what they have built? It is one of the strangest mind puzzles in Europe today. To answer it, we have to follow a thread that runs through everything. How they live, where they came from, what they are afraid of, and what they just can't bring themselves to do. Welcome to Norway. There is a rule in this country that has never been written down, never voted on, and never officially taught. And yet, it shapes almost every social interaction here. Norwegians have a name for it, Janteloven. We can give it the rough translation of the law of Jante. Its message, passed down through generations, can be reduced to a single sentence. You are not better than anyone else. Don't think this is just a casual saying. It is a quiet code stitched into how people dress, how they drive, how they speak in meetings, how they spend their money. The wealthiest businessman in the country might walk into a cafe in a fleece jacket from a discount shop. A prime minister will be seen on public transit. A child of one of Europe's oldest royal families is expected to know how to wait in line. Wealth here is something to hold, not something to display. Many would say it is something almost embarrassing to display. Wait, does this sound strange to you? In much of the world, success is meant to be visible. Cars, watches, neighborhoods, school crests, all signaling where one sits in the order. In Norway, much of that signaling is considered rude. There is a cultural tendency, not universal but strong, to dress like your neighbor, drive a car within reason, and never, ever brag. For distant observers, it is a small piece of psychology with a very large consequence. If a country grows up believing that no one should rise too far above the rest, then it follows that when the country itself becomes rich, it cannot allow that wealth to lift one generation above the next. Janteloven, applied to a national budget, becomes a 3% rule. The discipline in the law is the discipline already living in the people. For most of its long history, Norway was a poor country. Look at the land, and you understand why. It is long and narrow, pressed against the sea, climbing into mountains, falling into fjords, scattering thousands of islands along its coast. Much of it cannot be farmed. Winters in the north hold the sun below the horizon for weeks at a time. For most of its existence, the question facing an ordinary Norwegian family was not how to grow rich. It was how to make it through to spring. That is not a small detail. It is the foundation of the temperament. Centuries of fishing in cold water, storing food for winter, splitting firewood in the autumn, mending what could be mended, and not buying what could not. All of it produced a culture where waste is something close to a sin, and saving is something close to a virtue. When the country could not feed all of its children in the 19th century, hundreds of thousands of them left. Between 1825 and 1925, more than 800,000 Norwegians sailed for America in search of better land. As a share of population, only Ireland sent more of its people abroad. Many of the families still living here today carry the memory of relatives who left and never returned. Poverty here was not an old folk tale. It was a grandfather's letter from Minnesota. Then, in the late 1960s, almost as if the country had earned it by waiting, oil was discovered beneath the North Sea. Production began in 1971, and here is where the soul of Norway revealed itself. When sudden wealth arrived, it did not land on a people hungry to spend. It landed on a people whose grandparents had spent 1,000 winters being careful. In 1990, the country took a step almost no other oil nation has ever taken. It decided that the money flowing in from the seabed would not be poured into the national budget. Instead, it would be poured into a single, separate pot. What the world now knows as the Government Pension Fund Global, and what Norwegians simply call the Oil Fund. Then, in 2001, came the rule that defines the entire system. They called it the handlingsregelen. Over time, the government would only be allowed to spend the expected real return on the fund, not the underlying money. That return was first set at 4%. In 2017, Parliament tightened the belt further and reduced it to 3%. 9 out of 10 parties supported the change. Only one, the more spending-friendly Progress Party, voted against. Today, the fund holds a small piece of roughly every publicly listed company on Earth. Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, JP Morgan, a sliver of each is, in some sense, Norwegian. In 2025 alone, the fund earned around $247 billion, more than the entire annual economy of most countries on the planet. And still, the cap holds. The 2026 budget proposes to draw out only 2.8% of the fund's value. It's a remarkable idea when you stop and think about it. A nation has assembled the largest pool of investable wealth in human history, and then, by its own choice, agreed not to live off it. The fund is treated as something held in trust for the citizens not yet born, for the petroleum era that will eventually end, for the descendants of those people who once mailed letters home from Minnesota. Can you imagine your own country writing a law that forbids itself from spending its own savings? Drop your thoughts in the comments. The Norwegians did exactly that. If you commit a crime in Norway and are sentenced to prison, you may have to wait up to 6 months for a cell. The country's prison system is so understretched it keeps a waiting list. Reconviction rates within 2 years of release sit around 20%, among the lowest in the world. That single, almost absurd detail captures something larger. The fund is not what Norwegians live off day to day. What they live off is the welfare state the country has built around its income. From cradle to retirement, the average citizen is held inside a quiet web of public services. Healthcare is largely free for residents, with small co-pays for things like adult dental work. Education is free from kindergarten all the way up through university. For students who meet the criteria, the government offers a generous stipend system to help with living costs while they study. When a child is born, parents share a combined leave of 49 weeks at full pay or 59 weeks at 80% pay, with substantial portions reserved separately for each parent, so neither feels pressured to skip it. The standard work week is 37.5 hours. Annual paid vacation is 5 weeks, often 6 under collective agreements. But this comfort comes wrapped in a price tag that startles first-time visitors. A burger meal at a chain restaurant in Oslo runs the equivalent of around $13 to $17. A beer in a city pub costs $10 to $13. A simple cup of coffee can be $5 before you have taken a sip. Walking through a Norwegian supermarket, where a small basket of groceries can rival a fancy dinner elsewhere in Europe, you can feel the country's social bargain. High wages, high taxes, high prices, and high services all turn together as one wheel. The point is not that everything is cheap. The point is that almost nobody is left behind. And here is where the country's identity twists strangely upon itself. Norway pumps about 2 million barrels of oil out of the North Sea every day, and supplies close to a third of all the natural gas burned in the European Union. Without Norwegian gas, large parts of Europe would have spent recent winters in serious trouble. In plain economic terms, this is one of the wealthiest petrostates on Earth. If you walk into one of its cities, the picture changes. In 2025, more than 95% of every new car sold in Norway was fully electric. In December alone, the figure climbed above 97. Tesla has been the country's top-selling car brand for 5 years running. Diesel pumps are slowly vanishing from the suburbs. Electric vehicles now outnumber diesel cars in the entire existing fleet. The whole country is quietly stepping off the very product it sells to the rest of the world. The pattern goes further. Since 2020, it has been illegal to install fossil fuel heating in buildings, new or renovated, private or public. And in late 2025, the Parliament agreed to pause all deep-sea mining licenses in Arctic waters until at least the end of 2029, walking back its own earlier plans to mine the seabed for the metals that go into the green technologies it now buys from abroad. It is a country, in other words, that earns its national income from a fuel it is gently refusing to burn at home. To outside eyes, this can look like hypocrisy. To Norwegians, it is something closer to a moral compromise. We will sell what the world is still going to buy, but we will not be the ones still using it when the bill comes due. Whether this position holds, only the next decade will tell. And yet, beneath every section of this story, the same quiet shadow keeps falling. The country is saving for its grandchildren. The trouble is, those grandchildren are arriving in fewer and fewer numbers. In 2024, the average Norwegian woman had 1.44 children in her lifetime. That figure has fallen steadily for 15 years. To keep a population stable without immigration, the number needs to sit around 2.1. Norway is now well below that, a position once unthinkable in a country with one of the most generous family policies on the planet. This is where the puzzle deepens. South Korea's collapse in births, which we have explored on this channel before, was a story of crushing pressure. Brutal exam systems, impossible housing prices, work cultures that swallow young lives. Norway is the opposite. Free childcare, paid leave, protected jobs, child benefits paid straight into the bank account every month. And still, the babies are not coming. Many Norwegian parents now choose to have children later, choose smaller families, or choose none at all. Researchers point to shifting attitudes around career, partnership, and what a meaningful life looks like. Softer factors, far harder to legislate. You can sense the country's quiet anxiety beneath every conversation about the future. If the trend holds, even a $2.2 trillion fund cannot conjure new working-age people to staff hospitals, teach schools, and pay the taxes that knit the welfare web together. A country that planned everything cannot, so far, plan the one thing that matters most. The 3% rule depends on people. And in this one corner of national life, the people have begun, quietly, to opt out. Norway has two land borders that could not be more different. Its longest, the 1,630 kilometers it shares with Sweden, is the most relaxed national frontier in Europe. In many places, you can cross it by stepping over a small stone cairn in a forest. There are no fences. There are no guards in the woods. Phones simply switch networks, and the country has changed. But up in the Arctic, Norway shares 196 kilometers of land with Russia. A short drive across that line sits the Kola Peninsula, home to one of the largest concentrations of nuclear weapons anywhere on the planet. Since the war in Ukraine began, what was once a quiet northern frontier has become NATO's most sensitive northern line. In March 2026, the alliance ran its largest northern exercise in years across the top of Norway, Finland, and Sweden, around 25,000 troops from 14 countries training together for war in the cold. Russian forces, on the other side of that 196-kilometer line, issued missile firing warnings in the Barents Sea, timed almost exactly to the start of those drills. The signal could not have been clearer, and the country has begun to harden in its own restrained way. In the summer of 2025, Norway signed a partnership with the United Kingdom worth around $14 billion to build a fleet of at least 5 new frigates. It is the largest single military investment in its history. A nation that prides itself on candles in the long winter dark, on quiet trust, on a softness others find almost surreal, has just spent a record sum on warships. Can both still be true? In Norway, the answer right now is yes, both have to be. Every year, the income, wealth, and tax payments of every Norwegian taxpayer are made public. Anyone can search the database. A colleague can look up a colleague. A neighbor can look up a neighbor. The tradition goes back to the 19th century. Yellow page books once sat in town halls for anyone to read. Today, it is a website with a search bar. Since 2014, the system also tells you if someone has looked you up. The country decided in effect that financial privacy was less important than collective honesty. This is the invisible currency that holds the whole society together. Trust. Public sector salaries are listed openly. Politicians' incomes are open. Tax evasion rates are extraordinarily low, partly because there is almost nowhere to hide. The bargain is simple. You pay what you owe. Everyone can see that you did. And in return, the social contract holds. This is the deepest social value driving Norway. It is the reason many citizens accept some of the highest tax rates in the world without revolt. It is the reason public services rarely collapse into corruption. It is also why those who do not fit the unspoken rules, who refuse to be open, who try to game the system, who prefer privacy as a value, find Norway gently, persistently, uncomfortable. Within a generation, the share of Norwegians over 65 will rise sharply, climbing toward a quarter of the entire population. The fund will help carry the cost. The fund cannot carry it alone. Immigration has become the dividing question of national politics. In the September 2025 election, the right-wing populist Progress Party doubled its vote share to almost 24%, the highest result in its history, on a platform of much tighter borders. The governing Labour Party held on, but the country has clearly shifted. Many Norwegians who once supported open borders now want them narrower. Others see immigration as the only realistic way to keep the welfare system staffed as the babies fail to arrive. Both groups argue inside the same Janteloven culture, and so the debate stays civil but unsettled. There are bright horizons, too. Norway's grip on green technology, Arctic shipping, and global financial influence through its fund all give it options most small nations would envy. Whether the next generation chooses to use those options to open up or to retreat into a smaller, more cautious version of the same identity is one of the genuinely open questions of European politics right now. A country that locked the lid on its own treasure must now decide what kind of nation that treasure was supposed to build. The answer, like everything else here, will be argued quietly, fairly, and at length, in offices, in newspapers, in the kitchens where new parents do or do not decide to have a second child. And so we leave Norway as we found it, a nation of 5.6 million people sitting on more than $2 trillion they have agreed, by collective rule, not to spend. A petrostate refusing to use its own oil. A pacifist country hardening its northern edge. A culture so wary of standing out that even its prime minister rides the tram. A people who, having known scarcity for 1,000 winters, have built the world's most successful savings account, and yet cannot quite bring themselves to enjoy it. If you were Norwegian, Would you spend a little more or save a little longer? It is the question their whole society keeps asking itself in one form or another every single day. Our visit ends here for now. Thank you for traveling with us, and we will see you on the road to the next country. And that's it for today's story, but the journey is far from over. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to Trek and Tell so you don't miss any of our upcoming journeys and stories. See you in the next video. Bye.